Hey guys, I hope all of you are doing well. So today we're going to look at the ELK stack or the ELK stack or the Elastic Stack. There's a bunch of different names for it. But basically the idea is we want to take our normal logs your REST API or backend services provide, and you want to turn that into a usable dashboard. So normally I'm assuming every team has like sort of a support team or somebody looking at bugs, and at response times of your APIs and of your services, and you don't necessarily want to go surf through the logs, and you want to have like a visual representation of that. And I want to show you quickly today how you can achieve that, and it's quite easy to actually achieve that. So we're going to take a look at the ELK stack. So this is like a sort of an example I'll show you guys now, a practical example of an ELK stack. So here you can see we have like a couple of graphs or charts or whatever. So we're going to use like the tech stack we're going to use is Kibana, Logstash, and the Elasticsearch database. And these tools combined together allows us to actually draw up some amazing dashboards. And this is like from live data taken from your logs. So whenever you log something to your logs, we will take that entry, your logs, or the log entry, and we will turn that log entry into an object, and that object will basically represent some data on this dashboard. So for this demo, I made like a super simple REST API, and this REST API, you'll see there in the response, it's just giving us back like sort of like an access log. You will typically find this an access log. So this is like an entry into the access log. And this is where we get all our data from. So each time our backend service gets a request, typically this request will be written to a log. And this will be like a 200 request. This will typically have an endpoint, a response time, but whatever. Each service's logs are going to look different. So this one is in a JSON. I mean, your logs may not be written in a JSON. Yours might look differently. So you can see basically we have a few graphs, this displaying the time over the response time. So there you can see I made like a couple of requests. I'm just going to make like a few more, and you'll see the data will show up. And you can see the response time over the time, basically all the endpoints. So there's just 3 for this demo. But obviously, if you're in an enterprise system or solution or whatever, you're going to have many endpoints. And there you can see our Red Hat system usage, like the CPU usage, the memory usage, the amount of requests which came in. This is the average amount of response times, the maximum response times, all the different status codes. So if you have like errors, we can see that. We can see if there's bad requests, normal requests that went through. So we can see all that kind of things. So just to get everyone like, if you want to see if this kind of thing is for you or not, we want to typically see if, you want to try it out. And I think that's quite cool about Kibana is you can quickly try this out yourself. So for an example, I have like a typical access log file. So this is like an example. I think most of the BBD services would have like something like this. So your backend services will provide like sort of like an access file thing. And this access files typically look like this. So the cool thing, you can drag and drop this thing, and you can instantly, you can go to, okay, so Kibana has a machine learning function, so we can import this file into this function. We can instantly see what our data is going to look like, and we can draw up a dashboard instantly from this. And we can see without actually implementing the stack. If we want to use Kibana, if it's going to be worth it for us to maybe use it, then we can import this, create an indice, and basically this is how I created this dashboard. It's exactly the same data. Yeah. So that's just in a nutshell. This is obviously very simple. But yeah, so let's just look at a few, like how this whole thing is set up and so on. So if we look at like the setup of an ELK stack, it's basically going to be, like we said, it's going to be Logstash, Elasticsearch, and Kibana. So what are these, what are these three things? So obviously you get your log. This is where your data comes from. Logstash is responsible for taking your log entry and creating and filtering it and changing it into an object. And Elasticsearch is your data layer. So that's where this is where the object we receive gets stored. And then Kibana is just the web, the web UI you saw now. So there's like a few fancy additional like stacks we can like implement with all kinds of Kafka and Redis, buffering and caching tools, like if we have like massive enterprise applications. So basically, typically, I think most of the backend services in the enterprise run on Red Hat or obviously on Kubernetes and Docker. So it's easy to set up an Elastic Stack for on those type of technologies. You can also do as well if you have like Ubuntu installed in your Windows machine. It's easy to set it up there as well. So this is the quick start method I just showed you guys. So if you want to try the Elastic Stack out, maybe see if it's worth it for your company or your team to maybe invest in it. Okay, cool. So let's just quickly see how we take our logs and turn it into an object. So there's quite a few useful tools to do that. So for instance, we have the Grok debugger, which is just an online app basically. And you can see if you take one of your log entries and you put it in there, there's some filtering and stuff you can do. And basically this pops out this object. So this is typically what we're going to find inside of the objects we receive in Kibana. So just an example of that. If we go to Discover in Kibana, we can see how our data comes in. So there you can see, there we get the endpoint, we get the full message, we get the path, where the log was located on the server, we get the status code, so if it was a successful request, a non-successful one, the time, the response time basically, and obviously the timestamp when it came in. So that's typically how an object is going to look, and basically we take that data and display it. Very easy. Okay, cool. Let's just go back there. Okay, cool. So apart from obviously taking your logs and showing all the info from your services, your response times, all those kind of things, you can also pull metrics and show the metrics on the dashboards. And basically what a metric is it's going to show all kinds of things like the CPU usage, memory usage. You can pull other metrics. You can maybe use like IPC message handlers like RabbitMQ, or you can use, if you use stuff like Prometheus to scrape metrics off your services. You can also use like those kinds of metric tools and stuff, and you can basically display any metric you want to pull from your server. You can display visually on Kibana. So what other cool features does Kibana provide you apart from actually seeing all this stuff? Is I think a crucial one is, especially if you work for a company like BBD, is to know, you want to know before stuff goes, you want to know if stuff goes wrong before the client knows. And that's all about alerts and whether you know if stuff does go wrong. So setting up some sort of alert system is quite crucial. So the cool thing about Kibana is if you have this whole stack set up for your company or whatever, you can easily put threshold on some parameters, and these thresholds can then trigger alerts. So you can like send alerts to Slack or Telegram or Jira or whatever platform you use, and you can instantly be notified if something went wrong, if maybe there's like more than a certain amount of 500 errors coming through, in a certain time interval maybe. Other thing which is cool of Kibana, you can set up multiple environments. So you can have dev environments, QA environments, prod, pre-prod, whatever. And then there's also different permissions and things different, obviously, account holders and users can do. So in a nutshell, that's basically it. So typically, obviously, in our team, our BBD team, where we work for a bank, typically we set up a dashboard like this, and obviously it doesn't look as simple as this. It's way more. There's way more traffic. There's way more endpoints. It's way more populated than this. But this is just to give you like a brief idea of what's possible. And this is actually quite easy to set up. You can get this instantly from just dragging and dropping your logs. Yeah, that's it for the ELK stack in a nutshell. Cool. I don't know if there's any questions somebody maybe has.